Japan. What do you think of when I say Japan? Most people will think of Mount Fuji, right? This majestic mountain is really beautiful, isn't it? It's a mountain that Japanese people also love. I live in Tokyo and can see Mount Fuji from Tokyo on a clear day. Today, I'd like to show you what kind of mountain Mount Fuji is. In Japan, about 73% of the land surface is mountainous. The highest peak in the country with this many mountains is the 3,776-meter high Mount Fuji. It is located about 120 kilometers west of Tokyo. It is not even half as high as the world's tallest mountain, Mount Everest, which is 8,848 meters. But there are no high mountains around it, and the ridges look like they are covered with a veil, making the mountain beautiful and loved by the whole world. Mount Fuji was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2013. Fuji was registered as a cultural heritage site, not a natural heritage site, because it is an object of a natural worship and a place that has inspired art such as ukiyo-e prints. Japan is one of the most volcanically active countries in the world. Mount Fuji is actually an active volcano. Since its birth 700,000 years ago, when an underwater volcano erupted, the mountain has erupted 17 times in recorded history, after which it took its current shape. The last eruption took place on December 16, 1707. The ash plume and spewing of lava lasted for 16 days. The ash plume rose to 20 kilometers above the ground, and the ash fell as far as the Boso Peninsula, 100 kilometers away. Even Tokyo was covered in a 2 to 3 centimeter layer of ash, affecting such a wide area that candles were needed even in the daytime. This is a crater from that time. We call it the Hoei crater. Ever since, for more than 300 years, Mount Fuji has been in a deep sleep. Until then, it had erupted once every 100 years on average. If an eruption of the same scale as the one in 1707 were to occur now, it would have a great impact on the capital city of Tokyo. There are also many people living at the foot of the mountain now, so the Japan Meteorological Agency is closely monitoring the volcanic activity of Mount Fuji. In fact, an eruption could happen any time now. It's a little scary, isn't it? Mount Fuji used to erupt every 100 years until 1707. People in the old time built the Asama shrine at the foot of the mountain to pray to the god of fire, Asama no Okami, to quiet the mountain. Mount Fuji was also considered a sacred mountain where gods and Buddha dwelled, and it was an object of mountain worship. That's why when the 1707 eruption occurred, it was thought that Mount Fuji erupted in anger due to the bad policies of the shogun at the time. Mount Fuji was an object of mountain worship and became a place for ascetic practices, and it is said that the climbing of Mount Fuji began in the late Heian period. In 1132, a monk named Matsudai Shonin was the first to climb the mountain. In his life, This monk climbed Mount Fuji hundreds of times. It's amazing. Until 1872, women were forbidden to climb Mount Fuji because women would get in the way of ascetic practices. This is why women were only allowed to climb up to the second station. But actually, there's a record of a woman wearing a man's costume with a top knot climbing the mountain in 1832 with a group of men who were campaigning for gender equality. Nowadays, of course, anyone can climb the mountain, but you can only do so during the 2 months of summer, July and August. About 200,000 climbers from all over Japan and the world visit the mountain every year during these 2 months alone. As Mount Fuji is the highest mountain in Japan at 3,776 meters above sea level, the average daily temperature at the summit is 4.9 degrees Celsius in July, 6.2 degrees Celsius in August, and even below freezing at dawn, so proper equipment is required. And since there are no high mountains around, strong winds are also a feature of Mount Fuji. I think the most popular part of climbing the mountain is to watch the sunrise from the summit. A public bus can take you to the fifth station at 2,300 meters above sea level. Start climbing from there. If you want to see the sunrise at the summit, I recommend starting your climb around 1 p.m. Arrive at the mountain lodge at the 7th or 8th station in the evening, take a nap, and start climbing again around 1 a.m. Especially for beginners, it is now recommended to climb without taking a rest at the mountain lodge, as it can be dangerous. And would it be great to see a sunrise like this from the top? You are able to climb the mountain in the summer because there's no snow on Mount Fuji at that time, except for some perennial snow. When you imagine Mount Fuji, there's always snow on the top, right? I also always see snow on top when I imagine Mount Fuji. It is true that it looks more beautiful capped with snow, so that's why it's always Mount Fuji in winter that is used in Japanese advertising posters. It starts to snow there in late September or early October every year. The first snowfall on Mount Fuji makes the news every year. Japanese people love Mount Fuji so much that the first snowfall makes the news. Fuji can be seen from Tokyo on a clear day, but it is only visible for about 100 days out of the year. So Japanese people are very happy when they can see it beautifully. Fuji can be seen more easily from November to February, when it is less humid, because Japan is a humid country most of the rest of the time. So even if you come to Japan in the spring and expect to see cherry blossoms and Mount Fuji together, there are only a few days when you can see Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is shy, isn't it? If you don't want to climb the mountain, but want to get as close to the top as possible, you can take a public bus to the fifth station of the Fuji-Subaru line. There are actually 4 trailheads that lead to the summit, and the most popular one is the Subaru line fifth station. During the climbing season, only public buses can reach the fifth station of the Fuji-Subaru line because of the restrictions on private cars. The fifth station of the Fuji-Subaru line is lined with restaurants and souvenir shops, as it is visited by many tourists other than climbers. But because it is located at an altitude of 2,305 meters, it can be cold even in the middle of summer, and the sun is stronger here too. Even if the weather is bad and you can't see Mount Fuji from below, you can sometimes still see the summit from here. From the observatory, you can see a beautiful view of the surrounding area, including the 5 lakes of Fuji. This is a forest boundary, so if you look up, you can see a bare surface with hardly any trees, while below you there's a sea of trees. When you see the red torii gate of a shrine, you are at the Komitake Shrine. This shrine is actually built on top of a mountain called Komitake, which has been around since before the formation of Mount Fuji. The Komitake Shrine was founded in 937. It surely is a beautiful mountain, Fuji. It has been painted by many ukiyo-e artists and painters since ancient times. Sure, I have probably seen Mount Fuji hundreds of times, but I still always take a picture of it when I see it. Do you have a clearer image of what kind of mountain Fuji is now? Next, I will show you my recommended spots from where you can see Mount Fuji.